Oigan, ya saben que nosotros buscamos por todo el mundo lo mejor de lo mejor para tenerlo en este programa para ustedes. Y está de regreso Garret Wing. Garret es entrenador de perros, es fundador de American Standard Dog Training, que es una academia de entrenamiento de perros basada en Miami, en Florida, y que, por cierto, tiene un canal de YouTube y en Facebook espectacular, con muchísimos videos para que ustedes, solitos desde su casa, aprendan a entrenar a sus perros. Se llama American Standard Dog Training o DIYK9.com. Since you live in Florida, I assume you're fluent in Spanish.
I'm not fluent, but I can order food pretty good. And then when I was single, I could get on a date with a beautiful Latina.
What would you say? Hola, chiquita?
Something like that. I know how to ask for a kiss.
Say, ask for a kiss.
Yo quiero un besito, por favor.
Muy bien, muy bien, muy bien. Well, thank you for being on the show. Y la razón por la cual hablamos con Garret es porque la última vez que estuvo aquí habló de que, por ejemplo, a la gente le encanta el labrador dorado, el golden retriever, y explicaba cuál es la personalidad de ese perro. Entonces, si tú eres una persona sofocada naturalmente, en 2 minutos te va a sofocar un labrador dorado. Entonces, ¿qué hay que entender? El tipo de persona que eres y el tipo de vida que tienes, qué tipo de raza de perro puedes manejar de manera natural. So something you said on the last show that I did not forget about is what I was saying in Spanish. You know, people adore golden retrievers, but if you're a person, if you're a loner, if you don't have no patience on giving attention to people or animals, that's a type of dog that will drive you crazy because he needs so much attention. And how important it is to choose the breed that goes not only with your personality, but with your lifestyle, Garret.
100%, absolutely. And people make that mistake all the time. The one we always refer back to is like the Belgian Malinois. We said it last time. Looks great. That's a great dog for the police and military. Probably not a great dog for you if you don't have a police or military lifestyle.
Claro,
you're not going to war. You know?
So what we're going to base our conversation on today is if you're a first timer, if you have a family, if you live in a small space, if you're very sociable. So let's start one by one.
Sure.
So the first one is you're a first-time dog owner, and what are those challenges?
Well, I think as a first-time dog owner, most people don't realize the amount of commitment it takes to raise that puppy, get the potty training out of the way, get the crate training out of the way if you want to do crate training, get the regular training, get that obedience training. It requires work. It requires a lot of time, money, energy, and patience. Boy, you need a lot of patience when it comes to raising a puppy. It's like you're inviting, I wouldn't say it's like inviting a human being into your life. It's very akin to having a child, but you are inviting another living being into your life, one that needs constant attention from, well, let's not say constant, but daily. They need to go on their walks. They need to be fed. They need to be watered. They're going to make messes in your house. They're going to, it's inevitable. They're going to choose something they're not supposed to. They're going to need to go to the vet visits. It requires a lot of work. And I think a lot of people underestimate how much time and energy is required to maintain and have a healthy relationship with your dog. Because we usually say, having a well-trained dog can be the absolute best thing in your life ever, but having an untrained dog can be the most frustrating thing in your life ever, right? You come home from a hard day's work. Do you want to come home to a dog that's listening to you and that loves you and will cuddle you on the couch and listen to your problems, right? And when I say listen to your problems, like they may not understand you, but you can vent to them. And that the beautiful thing about dogs is they're always having a good day. Always, almost always. They're just so happy to see you. Or do you want to come home to like, oh my God, it peed here, it pooped there, it tore up your favorite shoes and your couch, and it could be you already having a bad day. You don't want to come home to that. It could just make your bad day worse, or it can make your bad day 10 times better.
Yeah. So what do you have to think about if it's your first time having a dog on the type of breed you should choose? Because obviously, as we learned last time, there are breeds that are naturally easier than others.
Yes, and again, all throughout the rest of our conversation, I want to preface it with speaking in generalities. Generalities being For instance, we might mention that a golden retriever can make a great dog, generally speaking, for most families. That doesn't mean that every golden retriever is perfect. Some, very rarely, but some can be a little, a little outside the norm. So just that's the preface before we continue. But when we're looking for with dogs for first-time owners is low maintenance, lower energy, generally a friendly disposition, meaning maybe first time out of the gate, your first dog shouldn't be a really strong guardian dog. That's 130 plus pounds. If you've never been behind the leash and held onto a leash of a dog that's 130 plus pounds, it can be unbelievable. Dogs pound for pound are unbelievably powerful. So could be too much dog for you. So we're looking at size, we're looking at maintenance of the coat, and we're looking at general disposition. We want calm, very social, happy-go-lucky dogs that don't require a lot of maintenance.
And those breeds would be?
So golden retriever is always towards the top of my list. I also like Labrador retrievers. I think Cavalier King Charles Spaniel are nice dogs. If you want a smaller dog, a Yorkie can be a great dog. And also, and some people kind of disagree with this and they get, their panties in a twist. Some of the doodles can be pretty nice dogs. I like a lot of the doodles lately. Labradoodles, because poodles are great. Labradors are great. Labradoodles can be pretty great. A lot of people think they can't be, that they're a little too much energy, but we're like 10 for 10 with the Labradoodles and the Golden Doodles in our program. They've been wonderful.
You surprised me with a Yorkie. Like every Yorkie I know, like barks nonstop and drives the hell out of me crazy.
They are very vocal. They are, but you can train that out of them. And if you get one that's quiet or you train that out of them and they learn to be quiet, they're pretty good. Like my kids love Yorkies. We've had a few here. I've never owned one, but we've trained them and they just love them.
I love that the term you use is vocal, but we should talk about that. Like, how do you train a dog to stop barking?
Sure, there's more than a few ways to do it. One, a very complicated way is to teach what's called a forced hold. A forced hold teaches them how to pick things up and hold it. But if you teach them a forced holding when they have nothing in their mouth, we're teaching them to keep their mouth closed. So it's hard to explain how you teach that.
No, we're going to do a whole different show on that. That's so cool. Yeah. Dogs for families and families also with children and small children.
Sure, absolutely. Love, like, without a doubt, a Labrador retriever, you basically can't go wrong. Now, the caveat to that is there are such things as working line Labrador retrievers, meaning hunting dogs, and they have way too much energy. Sweet as can be, but you will never tire those dogs out. So make sure you're getting more of what we would consider a pet grade or more of a show line Labrador retriever that once it just lays about and he's happy to just go for a little 10 or 15 minute walk and he's done. Another one that we like actually for families, if you want a big dog, an English Mastiff. They are super chill. They don't require a lot of energy. They take up a lot of room and they eat a lot, but they're very easygoing, great with the family. And what's another one that I like? Mm-hmm. German Shepherds can make some great dogs, but which we might talk about later. German Shepherd can be a great dog, but it can also shed a lot and they can be a little overprotective and they can be a little more dominant. And there's some health issues in some of the lines. And they're the same thing. Working line German Shepherds, not great for families. And then there's the pet grade German Shepherds, which could be a great fit for some families.
Okay, but do you like, for example, you know what dog I had when I was young, and I've never seen that breed again, ever. I had an English setter.
So I've never worked with an English setter or an Irish setter.
They're so not in vogue.
Yeah. And that's funny too, because us as dog trainers, we're just getting a lot of Cane Corsos. We're getting a lot of doodles. We're getting a lot of golden retrievers. We don't get a lot of Labrador retrievers. And I know they're out there. I think it is maybe they're just such good dogs. They don't really need as much training, and that might be why we don't get them in as often.
You live in an apartment. You live in a very, very small space. I guess a Belgian Malinois would be perfect.
Yeah. You would come back and you would have a penthouse suite because the dog would have chewed through all the drywall on the entire floor. And it would have just made it one big apartment, communal living with everybody on that floor. Yeah.
Okay. So small spaces.
Sure. So obviously it lends itself to smaller dogs, generally speaking.
Smaller dogs do need less activity, less exercise. They have less energy as a norm.
Yes and no. I mean, keep in mind, they were basically bred down to be lap dogs. Some of these dogs, like we're talking about the Shih Tzu, the Pug, but you got to stay away though from the terrier breeds, right? So some terriers, like a rat terrier, are bred to work and actually go down and burrow into holes and attack rats and work. So that could be a dog that requires a lot more energy. So it's not just the size, it's the size and the fact that we're looking for more like companion animals, dogs that were bred to be lap dogs. We go back to the Cavalier King Charles, even mixing a Cavalier King Charles with a poodle, a Cavapoo, they can be pretty good lap dogs. The Basset Hound we brought up recently, that it's just so lazy. That is a dog that just, we joke about, like, you'll forget you own it. You say you want to go for a walk and it's like, nah, I'd rather not. But I will say this, when you do live in an apartment, keep in mind if you have stairs or not. Some apartments, especially in South Florida, you might have 2, 3, 4 flights of stairs you have to walk up and down, maybe even in New York. So we have to be mindful, a little Shih Tzu can't just walk up and down 3 flights of stairs. It's a lot of work. So you want the dog to either be light enough that you can carry up and down no problem, or it's large enough that it can go up and down the stairs on its own. But that being said, no matter how big the dog is, stairs are actually really bad for dogs' hips and shoulders. So we want to think about that when we are getting a dog.
Okay, now answer this question. You know, after the Westminster whatever, when this French bulldog called Winston, it came out that one of the most sought after dogs today, the most popular, is the French bulldog. Now, the French bulldog is a small sized dog. How much exercise and activity does it need? And does it work well as a pug in small spaces?
The last part, does it work well as a dog in a small spaces? Yeah, a Frenchie can for sure be an apartment dog. They don't require a ton of energy. In fact, because of the type of breeding and the fact that they have those kind of snub noses, they actually don't do well with a strenuous exercise. They start to like snort and they can't breathe so well, so they don't do well. Same with an English bulldog or any of the dogs that have really short snouts. They tend to not require, nor can they handle strenuous exercise.
So people with allergies, Garret, what are the best breeds?
Sure. So we're looking for dogs, obviously, that don't shed. And again, when it comes to allergies or dogs that are what we might refer to as hypoallergenic, there's no such thing as completely hypoallergenic, but we're looking for the ones that shed less, have less dander. So we're talking about poodles, any poodle crosses, such as a golden doodle, labradoodle, cavapoodle. I did a video with about 200 doodle crosses. Also giant schnauzers, mini schnauzer, Portuguese water dog. That's just to name a few, but we're looking for dogs that don't shed. And any of the doodle variants tend to be pretty good. If I had to take my pick, I really, like I said before, the labradoodles, we've been doing really well with those lately. Nice dogs.
But you would say that no dog is 100% hypoallergenic.
Correct. They all shed a little, they all have a little bit of dander. But you are going to be better off with a dog like that doesn't shed nearly as much. Let's talk about a dog you might not want if you're allergic to dogs. A husky, German shepherd, any of the long-haired dogs that just tumbleweeds in your house, the hair all over your shirts, a lot of dander. You know, I constantly walk around. You can tell when I finish training dogs because I'm covered in slobber, hair, and just dander. And the dander is just, it's almost like a dust that's coming off dogs. So.
Well, you know what? My French bulldog that's white is shedding right now, and it is a joke.
Yep.
Literally, there's hair everywhere.
For sure. And the fact that the white coat, you just can't hide it. The black coated dogs, they might have the hair. You don't see it as bad. But a white coated dog, you see that everywhere. It's on your clothes, it's on your floor, it's on your couch, it's in your food. We jokingly say it's the dog trainer, it's a condiment. And
it's like little pins. It's like this really hard hair that it's so difficult to get out of everyone.
I watched the show, and I don't remember where I saw it, but this poor lady's a dog groomer, and she had to go to a dermatologist, and they had to take time and actually like wax and like with surgery and tweezers remove all the little hairs from all the dogs she's trimmed that had embedded in her neck like needles.
Terror. People who are runners, who love to run 5 miles, 8 miles, 10 miles, runners, exercise people, outdoorsy people?
Sure. So we actually just did a video on this on TikTok. I think it was one of our shorts. And the ones we identified as the top three in no particular order: the Weimaraner, the Rhodesian Ridgeback, and the German short-haired pointer. And the reason for that, these dogs are just basically bred to run. Like the Rhodesian Ridgeback is a dog that comes from Africa, South Africa, I believe, and it's made actually to hunt lions. So we made a joke that it could be a great running partner, but it could also be a nice dog to defend you if you're a young lady and you're going for a run late at night somewhere. It's a sizable dog. They can get up to 90, 100 plus pounds. The Rhodesian Ridgeback, again, is the one I'm talking about. The Weimaraners also can do a great job running, and the German short-haired pointers are any of these dogs that were bred for running long distances. In other words, hunting dogs that we now say, oh, you don't have to hunt, but can you take a 5 or 10 mile run with me? And they're able to do it. Also, the Belgian Malinois, I see that a lot. When I am driving around, the Belgian Malinois is a very popular breed. When I see that dog in a social setting that it doesn't belong and it's out of control, I think to myself, like, oh, what are you doing? You shouldn't have got that dog. But oftentimes I see runners with the Belgian Malinois, and I say, that's the kind of person that can handle it. Someone that's out there running 5 or 10 miles a day that can put all that energy to use. Trying to think if there's some other ones that we can think of.
Oh, you know what? I would love to ask you this question. I don't know who on the show came once and said, always remember that one of the biggest missions for your dog is to please you. So what I'm saying is, if you have a dog breed that is not built to run and you make him run, the probabilities of him trying to please you are very high, and he will try his best against his own health.
For sure. So dogs can literally run themselves to death. You know, they can overheat and they don't sweat like we do. The way they get heat out of their body is through their mouth breathing. So we go back to like a Frenchie or an English bulldog. Those dogs can literally, any dog can die from heat stroke. But those dogs that have breathing problems can. I'm thinking back, we had a Belgian Malinois, which are built for endurance and for work. I almost accidentally killed a dog during training. We didn't know it at the time, but we were working the dog and working the dog and working the dog. And it was at night. We oftentimes, especially in Miami, we will train during the night time. We'll shift all of our training schedule. Instead of starting at, let's say, 9 a.m., we might start at 3 or 4 p.m. so that most of it is in the afternoon when the sun is set. It's got to be 9 or 10 p.m. and we're working with this dog and doing some bite work with it. And we just kept doing rep after rep. And one of my trainers, who's a great spotter, said, hey, Garret, we have to stop. But I say working, I mean like 10 or 15 minutes. That's all. And right around that 10 or 15 minute mark, my trainer's like, hey, something's not right. Let's take a break. And I'm like, no, let's keep going. I like to keep going. He says, no, let's stop. He was right for doing that. Ended up put the dog, by the time we walked 100 yards to get the dog back into the car, it basically collapsed. We rushed it over to the vet's office, and they had to perform very expensive surgery and pump it full of fluids and a bunch of IV fluids and change blood transfusions. I'm not an expert on it. I'm not a veterinarian, but basically the dog was in extreme heat exhaustion, and its internal organs started shutting down. It started overheating. And so literally like, it's almost like burning the blood inside of its body. And what ended up happening, the reason we come to find out is we didn't know it, but the dog had a genetic defect where there's a valve that's supposed to open and close when the dog is panting. And basically the valve was not functioning properly. So in short, it was not getting the heat out of its body as good. And so this dog was this close. It was on death's door, but it pulled through. It's a tough dog. I love that dog.
It's a really important lesson on how fundamental it is to observe your dog, to know your dog, and to not push your dog beyond its limits. Any other dog? Weimaraner, short hair pointer, the Rhodesian, a Belgian Malinois, anybody else?
I think an Australian cattle dog could probably make a good running partner. They're a little shorter legs, but those dogs are meant to just work. Any dog that you can think of that's bred to be out in the field.
Okay, that's it. But I mean, if you're a runner and you want to run, 5 miles, which is like 10 kilometers or 11 kilometers with your Labrador, is that a good idea? Is it a good idea? Listen to what I'm going to ask you. Is it a good idea to run with a dog that has long hair. And I'm thinking, for example, my Newfoundland, he has long hair. He was very hairy. He gets hot very easily. I don't think like long hair dogs are a good idea, a good breeds to run.
Well, so you would think so, but then let's look at like a husky or any of the dogs that are bred to pull sleds. Those dogs can run forever. Yeah, but it's more temperature based, but definitely it's more about body structure. So you bring up a Newfoundland, those dogs are just behemoths. They're not made to run. They're actually made to float. They're so big, but it's more like body structure. So we want more of the slender dogs, the dogs that are lighter in weight, more thin framed, and just, you know, Google is your friend. Look it up and see.
But you're right about
but a Labrador, no.
Because it's not the same having a husky run in, you know, Canada or Newfoundland or the Arctic than having a husky run in Miami.
Yeah, no way. That's not fair to the husky at all.
You know, Mexico is a very safe country, and Mexico City is a very safe city. So everybody's very worried about safety. If you want a dog for protection and safety, what are the best breeds?
All right, so the ones that come to mind for sure, I love Rottweilers because I think they make great family dogs, and they can be super sweet, loving, and caring. But honestly, as a former police canine handler and trainer, and I train with you know, protection dogs or attack dogs all the time, nothing scares me more than a 130-pound Rottweiler behind a fence. It's just because there's one just a few blocks over, and I'm running sometimes by, and there's a pair of them. It's a male and a female, and I'm like, please don't be a hole in the fence. They're very intimidating, yet can make great family dogs. German Shepherd, it's built into their DNA. They can be, especially working line German Shepherds, can be great home protectors. I think a Doberman Pinscher makes a great family protector. You know, those dogs were originally bred to be bodyguards. An Akita can be a lot of dog, but again, I'm saying most of these dogs, some of these dogs can be a little too much to handle for some folks. So let's take the Cane Corso, that, like the French Bulldog, being one of the top most favorite breeds that's being bought right now. The Cane Corso is way up there. I want to say in the top 3, 5, or 10. We see them everywhere, and those dogs are amazing home protectors. I mean, amazing, but it can be oftentimes too much dog for some people, because these same dogs can be amazing home protectors. Can also, there's the news clippings. They have hurt and even killed people. That's how powerful they are. So we have to be careful. I just read an article today that's just from a couple of days ago in the UK. It was a pit bull terrier killed a 7-year-old woman. And it's not to talk bad about pit bulls. I think they can make great dogs, but they have the genetic potential to hurt people. They can, just like many other dog breeds. But I think also the Presa Canario, we just trained one now. We're training another one for one of our VIP clients.
Which one?
A Presa Canario. It's a Mastiff from the Canary Islands. It's very similar to a Cane Corso. They're very impressive dogs. They can get 130 to 150 pounds. Again, pretty cool dogs. Got to make sure when it comes to getting these big dogs that you socialize them and you train them.
Listen, I love dogs. I've never been afraid of dogs. I look at Teranos, que es el Cane Corso de Garret, and like if that dog comes walking up to me, I would be terrified, terrified. So yes, that is a catch-22. They're great protectors, but they have to be properly trained, and you have to have the personality and the leadership to have one of those.
Yes. Oh. So happy you said that.
Si quieren conocer todo lo que hace Garret y todo el contenido que tiene en redes sociales, desde YouTube hasta Instagram hasta TikTok, se llama American Standard K9 o DIYK9.com. Ahí está toda la información. Garret, as always, a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. See you soon.
Yes, great.
Bye-bye. Take care.